refrigerator Perry and just how hard he hit. And my mama told me homecoming games are the best. On the banks of those late fall, late cartwheel sunsets, I wanted to be just like Jeff Davis when I grew up, tackling Seminoles and Bulldogs, playing football in the mud. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. I feel really sorry for our sisters to the south, 'cause they come up here every other year and get punched in the mouth. Oh, and every home Saturday, it gives us the chills to watch those boys in orange run together down that hill. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Oh, somewhere up in heaven, Gaines Adams makes us sad. And that old Banks McFadden is the best damn running back. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Everybody, damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Oh, yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin and Peete here. Happy Thursday to everybody. Is everybody getting as excited as I am? Bowl season is in full swing. Hold on, let me switch the view I've got here. You can tell I've been out of the game, out of the live show game for a minute here. I'm all over the place. Bowl season is in full swing. Holiday season is in full swing, and I want to take this opportunity because I don't do this very often. I probably won't be on for a live show between now and Christmas, so I want to go ahead and wish everybody who's in here, everybody who's watching this after the fact, a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And I want to reiterate that I really appreciate everybody that supports the show, whether it's through Patreon or Super Chat, or just by watching the videos and commenting and leaving likes, or even the one jerk off that comes on here every single video and leaves a dislike. Merry Christmas to you too, sir, whoever you are. I think I know who you are. But I don't say that enough. And I think we all should take a minute out of our day to sort of reflect and be thankful for what we have. I mean, with all the crap that's going on in the world right now, the fact that we get to sit back and argue about college football, I mean, just think about how great that is when there's a lot of people out in the world that are really suffering with real world problems. And our biggest worry right now is Clemson going to beat Notre Dame, or is Oklahoma going to beat Alabama, or that sort of thing. So thank everybody. Best wishes to everybody. I hope you all have a great holiday. And I thought whether or not I was going to even mention this or not, because I don't feel like it's really my place to get involved in this. But I feel like I have to say something. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard at this point that Uncle Lou lost his mother a couple of days ago. I'm sure pretty much everybody that subscribes to my channel subscribes to his, and you probably have already heard this. But Uncle Lou, if you're listening or if this gets back to you at some point, I just want to say, first of all, send my condolences, as I'm sure everybody in here already has done to him. And let's just pray and hope that Uncle Lou and his family find some sort of peace over this holiday season. It's never a good time to lose a parent or a loved one for that matter. But it's especially hard during the holiday season. And this is what I've got to be thankful for right here. A naked kid running in here. Anyway, so Uncle Lou, I'm sorry. If anybody who's listening, please keep Uncle Lou in your prayers, and I hope that he can find some peace and his family this holiday season. Now, a couple things I want to talk about today. Announcements before we get into the college football talk is I've been promising that I will give the schedule that I plan on doing live play-by-play and reaction videos for some of these bowl games. And I was going through the schedule, and there's not, I mean, most of the games before Christmas just, first of all, schedule-wise don't work out. Second of all, aren't great games. And I want to make sure if I'm going to be taking time to, cut out 4 hours to do a live show, I want to make sure it's a game that everybody's interested in and it's going to be a good game. So what I've come up with to this point is Thursday, December 27th, the Pinstripe Bowl between Miami and Wisconsin, which is a rematch between from last year. And Miami, for some reason, is a 4.5-point favorite in this game, even though Wisconsin beat them last year, and this game is going to be played in New York in Yankee Stadium in the cold weather. I actually picked Wisconsin to win this game. Now, I'm rooting for Miami, so if you're a Miami fan, I'm rooting for you to win this game because I want the ACC to win all their games in the bowls, just because I'm an ACC homer. But anyway, I'll be doing that one. That's at 5:15 p.m. Like I said, Thursday, December 27th. Also, the very next day, Friday, December the 28th, West Virginia and Syracuse. Syracuse is a 7.5-point favorite in that game. And, of course, I'll be pulling for Syracuse. Now, Will Grier's sitting out the game, which I'm not going to even go down the road. I don't like this thing where the players sit out. But anyway, he's sitting out. And I'm sure if Syracuse wins that game, then West Virginia fans are going to be crying, saying it's because Will Grier sat out and this and that. Well, whatever. I still think it'll be a good game and an interesting game. Now, after that, so that's 2 games back-to-back, Thursday and Friday. After that, I'm still, and I need some of your help for this. I need some votes on this because I'm thinking I want to do some playoff games. And there's only 2 of them, right? Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson, Notre Dame. I'm on the fence about whether or not I want to do a live play-by-play and reaction video during the Clemson game. I mean, I really want to do it, but I'm hesitant to do it. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. I know Mrs. Peete does not want me to do it. She's already told me so much. She wants to watch the Clemson game without any interruptions and wants to watch it with me. And if I'm live on the air, that really can't happen. But I think it'll be a great game. I think it'll be a great game to broadcast live. But I'm a little bit hesitant to do it just because I'm such a Clemson homer that I'm not sure how that'll all work out in a big game like that. I've never done a live broadcast during a game that means that much for Clemson. So, but I'm going to leave it up to you guys to let me know. So send your votes in, whether it's through the live chat or through the comments. Do you want me to do the Clemson and Notre Dame game, or would you rather see me do Alabama and Oklahoma? I would like to do one of them. So you guys let me know, and I'll go off of whatever you guys say as far as that goes. I do want to talk a little bit about recruiting. Before I get into that, let me see who's in the comment section here. I'm going to scroll way back up here to the top, so you have to give me a second. What's up, Clemson Carson? Good afternoon to you, sir. Jets, Yankees. Putnam said if you want to be a millionaire, you got to hang out with millionaires when comparing Clemson to Florida State. Yeah, I did hear that quote, and I'll get into that in a second. Golden Dome Brian. Or Brain? Hold on. Brain. He says 9 more days. Yes, and I'm counting them, sir. Prince 6'1", what's up, my man? Tiger Nation, we got the OGs in the house. The GOAT Watson also in the house. Billy Dawson, my man. The The QC, what's up? What's up, QC? Richard Neal. Richard Neal always shows up. He is definitely an OG in here at this point. A Pac Fan 12, another OG. You got the comment section is full of originals here. Thank you all for showing up. Notre Dame Nation. He says, I hate the always Irish guy. Sorry if you like him, Peete. Well, don't be sorry. You're entitled to your opinion, sir. And I'll get into that in a second, too. The always Irish interview I did yesterday. What's up, Cody? Pixie and Pete, what's up, dude? What's up, Cody? How you doing, man? Oh, man, Cody, I could do a whole podcast just talking about what's going on with the Panthers, but this is, as of right now, this is a college football video, so I'm not going to get into that. But I was at that game, sir, if you didn't know. And, oh, man, talk about painful. That was a long 3-hour drive back from Charlotte to my house. I promise you. Christian Ballard, what's up? What's up, Pete? What's up, Christian? And G Grace. I missed it. What's going on with local? Yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna get into that. I just don't want. Again, I don't feel like it's my place to talk about it. I said my piece on that. And I'm going to leave it at that. But what's up, Michael Lynch is in the house. And that's the first time I've ever seen anybody do that. Just right in the house after their name. That's clever. Johnny Red Dot, what's up, sir? How you doing? Southern Buck 352, what's up, sir? Herbert Bradford says, May there. Uncivilized Ogre. Hey, Pete, Boomer Sooner. Got an Oklahoma fan in the house. Key Futuro. In La Casa. In the house, yes. So this guy takes it to another level. He just does it in Spanish instead of the other way around. So I saw a couple of references in there referring to some of the late signees that we had. So I did a video yesterday about Clemson recruiting signees, and that was like during the middle of the afternoon. And since then, like I said would happen, there has been a couple of more very important additions. Johnny Red Dot coming through with the super chat. $1.99. Thank you, sir. And he says, and I quote, another number one class roll tide. Now, is that surprising to anybody? Now, I won't go as far as to say, because Twitter is full of this, the same old crap. And believe me, they say the same thing about Clemson and any team that recruits at a high level. Georgia. Oh, you're paying your players. You're buying them cars. You're sending them sacks of money. Talk about butthurt other fan bases that start saying you're paying players and you're sending them bags of money and buying them cars whenever your team recruits better than theirs does. But first of all, I'm not surprised that Alabama's number one in recruiting. They've been number one recruiting like 7 out of the past 10 years or something. So no shocker there. The number one recruiting tool that Nick Saban has when he walks into a recruit's house, he walks in with national championship trophies and a handful of rings. You don't need to pay for that, son. That's all you got to do. You want to come win national championships? Come to Alabama. It's a pretty easy recruiting tool. You don't need to pay him for that. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, okay. So the recruits. So since I did that video yesterday, we have signed 3 players out of the state of Florida, all offensive linemen. And for anybody who doesn't know about Clemson's needs, obviously we're losing 4 players off of the defensive line to the NFL this year. That's a place of need. But we do have players in place to back them up, at least at 3 of the positions. Now, offensive line's a whole other story. We're losing some elite offensive linemen, especially Fasanelli and Mitch Hyatt. And so we signed Will Putnam, who flipped from Florida State. He's from Florida. Hunter Rayburn, and I want to say he's from Florida as well, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can correct me on that. And Caleb Boating. And Caleb Boating was a late offer by Clemson because somebody else decommitted, and we offered him. And this will sort of transition into something I want to talk about as far as the approach that Clemson takes with recruiting, because there's a lot of questions out there. And this sort of ties into the guest I had on yesterday. Anybody who hasn't checked out the video I posted yesterday evening, with the Notre Dame fan always Irish. I want to go ahead and give him a big shout out and thank him again for stopping in and taking an hour out of his day. I mean, the guy was at work. He did not have to do that. I extended a request to him to come on and talk about the Clemson and Notre Dame game, and he accepted, even though he was at work. So I can't thank him enough for that. And it's also very refreshing for me to talk to somebody one-on-one, a fan of another team, in a real way, because we all get caught up in Twitter and Facebook, and we sort of gravitate towards opinions that we agree with. And this happens not just in sports, but in politics and whatever else. But to actually have a one-on-one conversation, a real conversation with somebody, and hear their point of view, it does change the way you maybe perceive that fan base or perceive the views of that fan base a little bit. And so I loved it. It was great for me. Those type of videos, if you're making YouTube videos, don't necessarily get multi-thousand views, and they're not the most popular. But for me, those are some of the best videos, the most enjoyable videos to make, because I'm actually having a conversation with somebody one-on-one and getting their view. So, and I really liked everything he had to say. We didn't agree on everything, but we did agree on a lot of things. But he sent a tweet to me not long before I came on this live show today, and said he sent me a clip of something that was posted about Dabo Swinney's comments about how they recruit, how Dabo does not give official visits to a player until they have visited Clemson at least one time on their own dime. And Tiger Nation coming through with the super chat, $5. Screw everyone but Clemson. Well, yes, I agree. Tiger Nation, my man. Thanks, sir, for the super chat. You already know how I feel about my man. Brother from another mother right there. And so he said, I don't get this, Pete. Like, not every recruit has the money to get to Clemson on their own. Not everybody's rich and can just get to Clemson on their own. And first of all, I understand that perception if you're outside of the Clemson world, but you have to understand the way that Dabo Swinney does things. And you can love it or hate it. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but it works. And here's the reality. And all you have to do is go watch the interview he did yesterday when he gives his entire philosophy on the way that he recruits players. He feels, first of all, he does not believe in offering any player a scholarship early. He won't recruit them until they're at least a junior in high school, unless it comes directly from him. None of his assistant coaches, none of the recruiting staff is allowed to offer or recruit a player before their junior year in high school unless it comes directly from him. There's only been a couple of players that he's done this with. Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. These are maybe two of a handful of players that he has offered before they were juniors in high school. And this is because he knew them, because they came to Clemson camps. And he got to know them while they were at Clemson. But as far as the unofficial versus official visit thing, his philosophy is we will not offer an official visit, which for anybody who doesn't know this, an official visit is a paid visit by the university for the player to come visit your school in recruiting. Until that player has visited the university at least one time on their own dime. And the reason he does that is to weed out the players that are just looking to go visit every school in America on the school's dime and get marched around the campus and treated like a king for a weekend, as opposed to somebody that really is serious about wanting to come to Clemson. Now, you could say, well, that's not fair to the poorer kids. Believe me, look at the Clemson's roster, the way that it's been made up since Dabo Swinney has been the head coach there. It's not full of a bunch of rich kids. Okay? Plenty of these kids are come from very humble backgrounds with families that don't have a lot of money. But there's one thing that they all have in common. All of them. That they were serious about their recruiting, being recruited by Clemson before they ever took a visit. And so if you come there on your own dime one time and show and prove to them that you are serious about possibly committing to Clemson, then he will pay for official visits for you to come back. And listen, the number one recruit in the class of 2020, the number one recruit in all of the country, but he's a quarterback, and I can't pronounce the kid's name. They came from all the way from California this year, twice on their own dime. And he will get official visits from here on out between now and 2020. But that proved to them and Dabo that this kid is not just trying to get a free visit to a school and get treated like a king for a weekend, that he's serious about being recruited. Like I said before, you can love that, you can hate that, you could think that's sort of an asshole thing to do, but it works. It works. And so I like it. I don't know how you feel about it, but I like it. Ugalia. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. I didn't go to Clemson, so I can't pronounce that. I did get accepted to South Carolina, though. Just didn't go. Let me see here. I'm going to scroll back up here and look at some of these comments. Notre Dame Nation, Dabo is the best recruiter in the country. Well, if you look at the recruiting, stats, first of all, he's had 10 straight years of a top 20 class, and I want to say out of those 10 years, he's probably had, 6 or 7 of them have been top 10 classes, and certainly the past few years have been all top 10 classes. Their highest recruiting class was a ranking of 3, and I think that was the year that Deshaun Watson came in, if somebody can correct me on that. But, it's one thing to recruit players, just every great player, and just throw offers out to everybody and just get as many 4 and 5 stars as you can, which a lot of schools do that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's, a strategy that works for a lot of teams. But Dabo, he won't offer a 5-star if he doesn't feel like they're serious or if they're not academically sound. And he won't offer them if they just don't fit the entire embodiment of the program. He's very selective, and it's hard to be selective and still be a top 10 recruiting class. So he is the reason he got the job in the first place was because of his relationship with the players, because he wasn't even an assistant coach. He was a positions coach when he got hired as the interim head coach and then promoted to the full-time head coach. He got the job because of his relationship with the players, number one, and number two is because he was an elite recruiter as a positions coach. And those are two things that are very important for any coaching position, especially a head coaching position. So Terry Don Phillips, the athletic director at the time that made that decision to promote Dabo to head coach when nobody understood it, including myself and a lot of other Clemson fans. We didn't know who this guy was. This guy knew what he was doing. And we really all owe him a debt of gratitude, anybody who's a Clemson fan, that this guy was smart enough to not just go after the big name, because there was some big names out there that were interviewing for that head coaching position when it came open, and he turned them down in favor of a wide receivers coach, 35-year-old guy who was an Alabama wide receiver back in 1992. And this guy knew what he was doing, clearly. Knows a lot more than we do. That's why he's getting paid the big bucks, and we're not. I hope Fields goes to Florida State, though better than Ohio State or Oklahoma. Yeah, I did see that there's like 5 or 6 really schools that are in the running for getting Fields. Ohio State's number 1. Oklahoma's right up there. I did see Florida State, which I'd be surprised if he went to Florida State, but you never know. And Penn State. No, so for those that don't know, Justin Fields was actually committed to Penn State for like 3 years during high school before he flipped to Georgia. So Penn State's definitely in the running for that, I would think. What are some of the other ones that people have heard? Mississippi State I've heard as well. Slow down, Pete. Dabo not making as much as Saban. At what point did I mention how much they're making? I didn't ever say that. Billy Dawson says, I think Jalen Hurts transfers even with the rumor of grad transfer. That's a great point. So, again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point because you all know how I feel if you've been on here for more than a week. My opinion is that Jalen Hurts is going to transfer. Now, do I know anything more than what you know? Of course I don't. For all I know, he's going to stay there. My opinion is that he's going to transfer as a grad transfer. And then I got people sending me stuff, both on YouTube comment section and on Twitter, saying, well, Jalen Hurts applied to graduate school at Alabama. Well, okay, that is a good sign, I guess, if you think he's going to stay there. But did he apply to any other schools as a graduate? And I also think that just because he applied doesn't mean that he's going there. He could have applied to 4 other schools for all we know, number one. Number two, I think he might have to be enrolled as a graduate to play at post-January 1st, if I'm not wrong. Because if he's going to play in a national championship game scenario, provided that they do beat Oklahoma, doesn't he have to be enrolled as a student? And so I think in order for that to happen, he would have to be applied in the graduate program to make that happen. Doesn't mean he can't transfer somewhere else. I still think he's transferring. But again, your guess is as good as mine. Clemson paid that hurricane off. Listen, sir, I don't know if you just heard my rant about how Clemson won't even pay for a recruit to come to their school until they're serious about committing. So if they're not willing to pay for a hotel and a steak dinner in recruiting, I don't know what makes you think they're paying for anybody to come play there, sir. Obviously, Clemson is they're like that tightwad date that you get if you're a hot chick and you're like 25 years old and you meet this guy. Dabo Swinney is that guy who's like, I'm going to take you out for a nice dinner, and but by the end of the night you end up at Sonic. That's Dabo Swinney. Clemson not paying for nothing. I promise. He doesn't have to be enrolled. He's a grad. He's 90% transfer. Yeah, see, I don't know how that all works. I feel like I'm going to take your word for that, Johnny. I don't know. Here's what it comes down to. I still feel like Jalen Hurts is going to transfer. But I have no way of actually knowing that. That's just my opinion. I feel like he stayed there to get his degree. And once the season's over, he's going to move on and use his last year of eligibility to be a starter at some other school instead of sitting behind Tua. But I don't know. We'll see. If he doesn't, listen, if he stays, I'll come right on here, on video, on mic, on camera, and say, I've been saying for the past year that Jalen Hurts was going to transfer and go play somewhere else, and I was wrong. That's what I'll do. I'm not scared. If David Bell commits to Purdue, we could have a top 3-4 Big Ten class. Purdue, I think, is going to be the dark horse next year. Michigan's killing it in recruiting this year, too. I haven't really got into a whole lot of other conferences because it's only been, yesterday and today as far as recruiting goes. And my sole attention has been on what Clemson's doing. I haven't had a whole lot of time to look into some of these other teams. But the one thing I have noticed, there's two main things. Well, three. First of all, Michigan is killing it in recruiting. They're having their best recruiting class since Harbaugh got there. Now, if you couple the fact that Michigan is having a great recruiting class along with the fact that Urban Meyer is retiring, Michigan's got to be the favorite to win the Big Ten next year. They've got to be. I mean, who else would you put in that slot? Now, Purdue, I mean, I don't think you can put them in the same sort of category as Michigan, because Michigan's been playing at a higher level than Purdue has year after year, even though the fact that they haven't won the Big Ten or they haven't beat Ohio State, but they've still been playing at a high level, and they were this close this year to making the college football playoff, one game away, really. Also, Texas A&M. this is going to be the biggest story of the offseason. Because what Jimbo Fisher is doing at Texas A&M should strike fear into the heart of everybody in the SEC, especially in the SEC West, including Alabama. And not just in the SEC West, but the Big 12, because they're stealing big-time recruits that normally would go to Texas or Oklahoma, and they're going to A&M. If you look at the demographic of the top players that reside in the state of Texas over the past, say, 5, 6, 7 years or something like that, the highest recruited players to this point have, for the vast majority, been splitting off between Oklahoma and Texas, which is to be expected out of the state of Texas. And, of course, you still have Baylor and Texas Tech and a lot of these other schools that pick up some of the stragglers. But Texas A&M is swallowing up a vast majority of those players that normally would be going to Oklahoma or Texas. Couple that with the fact that Jimbo Fisher is a national championship winning coach, and just the overall money that they have at A&M and the facilities and the whole 9 yards, A&M is prime to be a powerhouse, top 5, top 10 program for the next decade, as long as everything continues to go in the direction it's going in. And if you couple that with the fact that Saban's going to be leaving at some point, whether that's 3 years from now or 4 years from now or 5 years from now or whatever, that's going to leave the door wide open for somebody like Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M to sort of take over that top spot in the West. So I'm looking for that. Last but not least, maybe the biggest story of all in all of this recruiting process, coming out of nowhere, is Oregon in the Pac-12. And this was surprising to me because I thought, first of all, USC is always sort of the top recruiter in the Pac-12 because of their name brand, because of the location, everything that goes along with that. But Chip Kelly going to UCLA, I thought his notoriety, his success at Oregon, his success in the NFL, that UCLA would somehow take a big jump up in recruiting this year after his first entire year there. And UCLA is not even in the top 50 in recruiting in the country, which is shocking. Shocking. And I don't know, I don't follow the Pac-12 close enough. I don't follow UCLA close enough to make an educated decision or guess on why that Chip Kelly's having such a hard time getting highly touted recruits in the state of California to come to UCLA. Maybe some of you can help me out with that. I don't know. But Oregon is just killing everybody. So Oregon and Washington and Southern Cal are the three teams right now in the Pac-12 that are really, topping the charts as far as recruiting goes. But Oregon's just killing it. They're gonna sign a top 5, most likely, because we don't know yet, but most likely they're gonna sign a top 5 national class for the first time in the history of Oregon football, which is a huge feat. Huge feat. And if that is true, if they do end up, even if they're in the top 10, but especially if they're in the top 5, who's going to compete with that? They've got a good coach. They're going to have an elite roster, and their only real threat is USC and maybe Washington. Outside of that, who's going to beat them? Peete is a closet Pac-12 homer, sir. No. I don't even like the West Coast in general, let alone their football teams. What's up, SEC Football Tube? How you doing? Thomas Gilbert, how you doing, sir? Good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. Otherwise, you would not be here. Spencer Rattler is a Sooner. Boomer. That's a good point because Spencer Rattler is the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country. He's committed to Oklahoma, signed with Oklahoma, I guess, at this point. And I think that may eliminate Justin Fields from going there because he's going to have a similar situation as if he's trying to compete with Jake Fromm, if he's trying to compete with the number 1 recruit in the country and Spencer Rattler. So I'm not so sure that Oklahoma is really a viable option for Fields to sign at this point. I think Ohio State, Penn State, and Florida State. Those would probably be all more likely options for him to go to. Pixie and Pete, am I crazy to think that Urban Meyer will retire for a year and then come back to teach? I think you mean coach, Southern Cal. You're not crazy to think that he's going to retire and then come back, because we've seen this movie before. But a lot of things have to happen for him. A lot of people assume that he's just going to go take the Southern Cal job. First of all, we don't know if the Southern Cal job is going to be open, number one. Number two, we don't know if Southern Cal wants him. And that's not a knock on Urban Meyer. Well, actually, it kind of is. Because if I'm a coach or an athletic director, not a coach, or a booster of a major program like USC or Notre Dame, that's another one that people are saying. Because, Urban Meyer was on the coaching staff at Notre Dame as an assistant at one point. And at one point, he did say that Notre Dame was his dream job. But anyway, if you're a direct athletic director or a booster at any of those big-time programs like USC or Notre Dame or any of them, really, LSU, let's say that one's open, or Florida State, that one might be open at some point. Do you really want to hire Urban Meyer? Yeah, he might win you some games. Yeah, he's going to recruit well. But how long do you have this guy for? And what sort of baggage comes along with hiring this guy? He's a great coach. But at this point, he's sort of damaged goods. And it just is what it is, man. I mean, you might be able to buy a national championship, one national championship, but look at what Ohio State's going through. Was it worth it to win that one national title if you're an Ohio State fan? Look at what's happening with them. They went from a top 5 program in America. Now their recruiting class this year has dropped all the way down to almost 20. And it's going to take a couple years to recuperate from that. And we don't know if they will recuperate from that in the near future. Your guess, anybody's guess is as good as anybody else's. But I don't know. I don't know if USC would even want him. Or if you're a USC fan, would you want him? And I think the answer probably would be no. I wouldn't want him. If let's say, for instance, that Nick Saban announced after this year he's retiring, and Dabo Swinney said, "Oh, I'm flying off to Bama. I'm gone. I'm out of here. I'm going back home." And then Clemson had the opening, and they said, "Well, we're thinking about hiring Urban Meyer." I wouldn't want it. I don't want Urban Meyer at Clemson. Period. End of story. Y'all saying Bama versus Clemson, and we haven't played in the semis yet. I played in the semis last year. High risk pays off. High risk can either pay off or completely screw you. Three or four good years, then the program falls apart as he exits stage right. Just look at his record and look at Florida since he left. Exactly. Southern Buck makes a great point. You basically summed up my entire point in 2 sentences there. Exactly. What's up, Chad Milligan? No, Hurts came in the Georgia game, and you call that mop-up duty. Hurts is better win than Trevor Lawrence has by far. Who's debating that? Hurts has been a starter for 3 years, or he's been on the Alabama's team for 3 years. He was a 2-year starter. Trevor Lawrence has literally started 10 games. So to say that he has a better win than Lawrence, of course he does. He's played 3 times the amount of games that Trevor Lawrence has as a starter. No, who's debating that? Now, if you're going to sit here and try to convince me with a straight face, sir, that Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts are anywhere on the same level as far as football players, as far as quarterbacks, then you're high. Because I'll tell you one thing. Jalen Hurts could carry Alabama this year to, let's say Tua doesn't, his ankle doesn't heal in time. Jalen Hurts could go out there and beat the crap out of Oklahoma, and they could go shut out Clemson 80-0. And guess what? Jalen Hurts is not going to be drafted as a quarterback into the NFL. But one thing is for sure. Trevor Lawrence will be in the first round, most likely the first quarterback taken. So if you're going to sit there and compare Trevor Lawrence to Jalen Hurts, we'll see how that all plays out in time. There is no comparison. What's up, Falcons Fury? Did you get any ham sandwiches, sir? Hey, Pete. How would you grade Dan Mullen as a on-the-field coach? As an on-the-field coach, he's one of the best in the country. On the field. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Charles Manson, this guy doesn't know football. I don't know if you're talking about me. Don't time him out for saying that. He can say that. Believe me, he's not the first person that tells me I don't know football. But what Charles Manson can't do, all he can do is come on here and say this guy doesn't know football. But he can't tell me what I'm wrong about. Not only can't he won't. All right, tell me what don't I know, sir? Since you're so smart, since I don't know anything, tell me what I'm wrong about, and tell me what makes you know more about football than I do. I can't wait to hear this. Hurts beat one good team, and he's the best quarterback of all time now. Hurts is good, but not better than Lawrence. Yeah, not even close. I'm not going to even read what you just wrote. Peete, with Miami and Florida State down, Dan Mullen has no excuse to not recruit Florida well from here on out. The class of 2020, huge for him. Yes, I agree. Oh, you don't know where to start about how I don't know anything about football, right? So basically what you're saying is that you don't have anything to say. You just want to come on here and run your mouth. Probably because I said something about your team that you don't like, so you're just going to come on here and call me a clown. But guess who's the bigger clown, sir? The guy who's a clown is the one on here telling me I'm a clown. If you don't like the way I talk about football, if you think I don't know anything about football, then just go away. Nobody's forcing you to be here. Christian Ballard. It says, read my last comment. Okay, Jalen Hurts needs to be the reason we win the Natty. 2 years ago, we fell short to Clemson. The last year, we won thanks to Tua. He has yet to win a title. Well, that is true. But the guy's, 26-2 as a starter? I mean, listen, Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. He's a great football player. There's a big difference between a great player and an elite player. And Jalen Hurts is a great player in college, but he's not an elite player. And I think that most Alabama fans know that. That's not a knock on him. It's just the way it is. I wouldn't dare to speak to you like that in the streets. I don't know. I've never seen you in the streets, sir. But something tells me if I saw you in the streets, you'd still be as much of a punk pussy as you are on the internet. Hashtag guys out for bowl game. Michigan players. Oh yeah, Michigan. There's a lot of players sitting out. Falcons Fury says Richard, but he still needs to be a recruiter. Better this is Florida. He has a top 10 talent with a 20-mile radius. There's no excuse why Dan Mullen should not be able to recruit at a high level to Florida. First of all, Florida is an elite team with a history of winning national championships in the recent future and in recent history. Dan Mullen has made mountains out of molehills. He did a hell of a lot at Mississippi State. Now, he never won, he never won his division. He never won the SEC, but he was at Mississippi State. So I give Dan Mullen, 3-4 years is, I think, fair for him to get the players in there, his coaching staff, his players. And if he can't compete for the SEC after 4 or 5 years, then he probably won't ever do it. But I think he can do it. The teams Trevor Lawrence has played, anyone could throw like Trevor is doing. Chad, listen, sir. I'm not going to even read the rest of your comment because it's completely irrelevant. I mean, I realize that your hate for Clemson is so strong, and you want to just discredit everything Clemson's ever done and ever will do. But it's blinding your eyes, sir. There's not a single NFL scout in America that would not draft Trevor Lawrence number 1 overall today if he was allowed to be drafted. Today. Period. Now, if you think you know more than NFL scouts about quarterback play, then what the hell are you doing here? Why don't you go get a job as an NFL scout? The hate for Trevor Lawrence, he hadn't played nobody. He's played everybody that they put in front of him, sir. I mean, what is he supposed to do? Play at fictional people that don't exist? We're about to see how he plays in a playoff situation, aren't we, as a true freshman? We'll find out. Don't get tased in the name of Tiger Nation. Some random dumb fatty with a YouTube account. I thought I have seen all of the names that people can make on YouTube. I thought I'd seen it all until this one. Yeah, sir, you win the prize for the craziest YouTube name of all time. Some random dumb fatty with a YouTube account. Anyway, what does this guy say? Clemson's going to get rolled by Notre Dame. I don't know what's funnier, your comment or your name. We could hang 50 points on Clemson. I mean, we do have the #1 offense, and we do have done it for the first 4 or 5 games of the season. So y'all either elite defense should be. Christian Ballard, have you played it? And don't even say LSU. I reject that on principle. Have you played a defense as good as Clemson's? No, you haven't. So we'll see. And don't even start with the LSU stuff. With a YouTube account, someone get me 5,000 burgers. It's Tiger Nation. It is what it is, man. All these people love to come on here and tell me how dumb I am. But, I mean, how dumb do you have to be to be the guy who's watching the dumb guy? Hey, Pete, we play Miami and Florida State next year. What's your early prediction for those games? Well, first of all, my early prediction as far as Florida State goes is you'll beat Florida State, unless they make some sort of drastic change. Florida State's just in terrible shape right now. The Miami game, I'm not so sure about. Where's that game being played? That's going to be probably more important than anything. I think that Miami had a bad year, but I don't see Miami just falling off the map. I think Miami's still got a good roster, and I don't think they're just going to go away. But where that game is played probably will have a lot to do with what I think. I mean, listen, I think it's funny how nobody can say anything other than the fact that Clemson hadn't played nobody. Trevor Lawrence hadn't played nobody. He hadn't proven nothing. He hadn't really had to play any good competition. All right, so what? So if Clemson played Furman 12 times in a row and didn't even play anybody that had a pulse, does that mean that Clemson's team is any worse than it would be if they played teams that were good? I don't understand the way that people think sometimes. If Michael Jordan plays one-on-one against me in his prime, does that mean that he sucks because he only played me in his prime? Or would he still do the same thing against Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley? My guess is he would still do the same thing against Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley, despite the fact that he only played me in one-on-one, because he's good. It has nothing to do with anything at all. And by the way, who have Alabama played? Who have Alabama played? Georgia. That's it. What's up, Hoghead? How you doing, sir? Welcome to the stream. I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. Otherwise, you would not be here. We played Auburn. Oh, Auburn, that's a juggernaut. You realize Clemson's beat Auburn 5 out of the past 6 years. Auburn is Clemson's bitch, sir. Hell, we beat them more times in the past 6 years than you have. William Murray, good afternoon to you, sir. Pete, some of these people need to be screened, psychological evaluation. Well, I think I could put myself in the same category as some of these idiots. I definitely am not mentally stable. If I was, I wouldn't be on here. It takes some sort of complete... There's got to be something going on in my head that's not right. Some screws that are loose, some neurons that aren't firing correctly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on here on YouTube putting myself out there for all these people. What's up, JC69? How you doing, sir? I hate to say this, but South Carolina will easily beat Virginia. I think so, too. I think South Carolina is better than Virginia. No, there's no argument here about that. The only thing is, though, is that South Carolina, Dabo Samuel is sitting out, and that is by far their best offensive player. But I still think that South Carolina will beat Virginia, as much as I would love to see the other way around. Hey, Pete, it won't happen, but what do you think Dan Mullen could do with Justin Fields? Well, first of all, if Justin Fields were to go to Florida, that would be a massive upgrade at quarterback. And I don't know how you feel about what's his face, the illegal immigrant that's the quarterback now. But he'd be a massive upgrade over that. And I think he would do good with Justin Fields. Justin Fields is going to be good no matter where he goes. So, and I'm telling you, if you're a Georgia fan, you don't want to see him go anywhere in the East. That's for sure. The same way I didn't want to see Kelly Bryant go anywhere in the ACC, especially in our division. South Carolina should have scored 49 on Clemson. Yes, they scored 35. Yes, it's a fact. Alabama could put up 50 on Clemson. I think that you want, sir, you're entitled to thinking whatever you want to think. Well, I'm going to think whatever I want to think, sir. But I also saw the worst team in the SEC, probably one of the worst teams in America, put up 31 points on Alabama. So don't throw stones if you live in a glass house, sir. If Arkansas can put up 31 points in Alabama, then Clemson could score 70 on them. How about that? I mean, going by your logic of what South Carolina did to Clemson, I'm going to go off the same logic saying that Clemson could do the same thing that Arkansas did times 2. So if you want to play that game, we can play that game. But guess what? You're going to lose that game. If Justin Fields goes to Oklahoma, they could be back. Yeah, I just gave my opinion on that. I don't think that Justin Fields is going to go to Oklahoma because of the Spencer Rattler kid that's there. But hell, I don't know. Maybe he will. What's up, Cody? Am I the only one that thinks LSU would be stupid to not do everything to get Justin Fields? Yeah, no, you're not. I think that they should. LSU is always seemingly a quarterback away from a championship team. Cody, that's the smartest thing anybody said on the stream today. LSU is year in, year out a top 5, top 10 defense in America. They always have elite running back talent. This year they sort of took a little bit of a step back since Fournette left, and then they had what's the guy, Darius Geis after him. But this year they didn't have sort of that elite running back. They've always been a running team that played tough defense, and again this year they had a great defense. No quarterback play at LSU since Jamarcus Russell. I mean, don't even come on here and tell me Zach Mettenberger was an elite, because he wasn't. So you're right. I mean, hell, you're talking about a football team that had a top 5 defense in 1 year. A top 5 defense, Odell Beckham Jr. as receiver, and Jarvis Landry all on the same roster, and they still were one of the worst offenses in America. Now, if you can have Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry as your 2 top receivers and still be inept on offense, I mean, that says a lot. That means you have no quarterback play. So if LSU were to somehow acquire a Justin Fields or somebody like that, they would be a top 5 team. So I agree. Pete, you have snapped your cap. Yes, whatever that means. Is Justin Fields top 3 or 4? Well, I don't think that we know that right now. I'd say he has the potential to be a top 3 or 4. But there's no way to know. He hasn't played enough. Hell, the guy threw like 20 passes this year. There's no way to know. But he has the potential to be for sure. Clemson is 60th in scoring offense. Christian, Clemson has the top 5 offense in America, sir. How are they 60th? How can you be 60th in scoring offense and be in a top 5 in offense in America? You're I don't know where you're getting that stat from, but it's wrong. Anyways, it was fun arguing with you people. And that idiot that came on and tell me I didn't know anything about football, but he couldn't point out one single thing that I didn't know about football. And he ran off to go get some cookies and milk because his mommy called him. But anyway, thanks to all the moderators for coming in here. Thanks for Johnny Red Dot, Tiger Nation, both coming through with super chats. I really appreciate that. Thanks again to Always Irish for coming on yesterday and chopping it up with me on the podcast, talking about the Cotton Bowl game. And I look forward to doing that again in the future. If you guys want to support the show, there's a link in the description to this video to the Patreon page. You click on that. It takes you 5 minutes to sign up for that, and you can read about the benefits of doing that. I will be back on, well, not Tuesday because Tuesday's Christmas. So I'm either Wednesday or Thursday, since I won't be working Wednesday since it's the day after Christmas. But so either Wednesday or Thursday, I'll be back on live. I may do some uploads, just regular videos between and now and then. If I don't see you guys between now and then, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and enjoy these bowl games. And oh yeah, next Thursday, December 27th, 5:15 p.m., I will be broadcasting a live play-by-play and reaction for the Pinstripe Bowl, Miami versus Wisconsin. And then next Friday, December 28th, West Virginia and Syracuse. And I'm still going to be waiting. I'm going to give it a few days for you guys to leave your comments in the comment section as far as whether or not you want me to do a broadcast for the Clemson Notre Dame game or the Alabama and Oklahoma game, and I'll leave it up to you guys. Billy Dawson coming through with the $5 super chat at the end of the stream. My man. I can always count on Billy. Billy and Tiger Nation, by the way, the first two to sign up for the Patreon. So those are my brothers. They have shown unbelievable support of my YouTube channel over the past several months, so I can't thank them enough for that. Thank you, Billy. I guess that's it. Thanks everybody for stopping in. I had a great time today. Pigskin Pete. Checking out.